But let's get right into it, guys. College football playoff national championship last night. The Ohio State Buckeyes, a 34-23 victor over the Fighting Irish. The number 8 seed Buckeyes claim the Big Ten's second straight national championship. First time that has occurred since the 1940s. Quite an interesting stat number that I saw today that is kind of hard to believe, but it is true. We'll just start with the game. We'll talk about some of the outliers, the what does it mean for both sides, but the game itself, student of the game Kyle Nash, thoughts on the game, takeaways from the game.
Boy, howdy. Listen, and I get that they're going to say, oh, it was a blowout out there, which, I mean, it technically was. And listen, credit to Ohio State for having arguably the hardest road in front of them to get to a championship and taking care of goddamn business. I mean, we don't have to like them, but boy, howdy, did they do the job. And the only one that did a better job at thinning the field was Notre Dame. And listen, I know people are going to make the statements that Notre Dame didn't belong. I know that people may suspect that I was going to make that statement tonight. But in a world where SMU and Indiana and Penn State, I mentioned SMU because they just belong to be mentioned. We'll start that way. But mostly Indiana and Penn State were eliminated thanks to Notre Dame being that baseline team. Listen, if you're so fucking good, you should be able to beat us. We lost to a G5 team. You couldn't. Fuck yourself. You don't belong. This is why I have no problem with Notre Dame getting to where it got. It's not Notre Dame's fault. It's the committee's.
Fair. Mikey B.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. I forgot to say that opening drive was worth the price of admission.
Oh, it was a thing of beauty. I wish it would have continued throughout the game, but
Jim, I think a 45-minute drive is a bit greedy. So
I mean,
the damn thing by itself took us.
Yeah, I would have taken one. I mean, I think it was the fastest quarter in college football national championship history.
I'm not prepared to rule that out, brother. But listen, I land the plane with this: the price of admission in that drive.
My wife's coming to my aid in the comments. Ryan Day still a pain in the ear bitch, and hasn't beaten Michigan. So,
but you know what though, and people are going to hate this. The guy showed growth since making those mistakes.
He did. Like they did what they had to do. They could have easily collapsed and hid and gotten bounced at home in week 1 of the postseason, and they didn't. So,
well, hey, it's enough for Ryan Day to become the Cowboys' next head coach. Anyways, I'll leave it at that.
Oh no, the Cowboys are going to hire Brian Schottenheimer because that's the most Cowboys thing that can happen.
It wouldn't Jason Garrett technically be the most Cowboys?
Well,
Kellen Moore.
Good answer. Actually, it's a great answer, Mike.
Haven't I suffered enough this
week? They're still in the playoffs, so they won't get hired this week.
Well, yeah, I was going to say exactly. If I have it my way, he'll get hired next Monday. More on that later. But my a colleague of mine at work was like, I don't like that you're talking to our offensive coordinator during the postseason. I said, my guy, I'm not happy that the Cowboys are talking to your offensive coordinator. Period. End of sentence. But yeah, it's I'm not happy about that. But I guess it seems like they're not going to hire him. But yeah, we'll hammer that when it gets there. Mikey B, thoughts, takeaways from the game itself.
Well, on the show last week, I made the comment in Notre Dame would win if they won the middle 8 minutes. Unfortunately, they got outscored 14-0 in the middle 8 minutes.
Yeah,
not great, Bob.
It was one of those things. Unfortunately, unfortunately, it was just one of those things where that last drive right before the half really felt like it was a backbreaker.
Sucks.
It sucked for me too, bud. Trust me. This is the psychopath that decided to take Notre Dame plus 13.5 or 14.5. So I would have won that bet. I had him plus 11.5 in the first half, lose on that 27-second left in the first half touchdown. Would have rolled the rest of it. So from a gambling perspective, I feel your pain. From a watching of football perspective, the thing I learned here is sometimes you don't have to have great quarterback play if you have enough explosive weapons that can go get the football. Will Howard, good, not great. He did the one thing that you can say he didn't have to do. He didn't turn the football over, which was the key. Not giving the ball away. Yes, they had turnovers, but it wasn't Howard throwing an interception, throwing a bad pick to give the momentum back. I mean, great play by the Notre Dame defense on that end around to knock the ball out, to give themselves an opportunity to get back in that football game. And not to preface what we're going to talk about, because I know we're going to get there when we talk about the Detroit Lions. Marcus Freeman kind of took a little bit of program out of the Dan Campbell situation. The kicking the field goal on 4th and goal from the 7. We're going to go for it, but we're not going to leave our offense out there. We're going to have a up man try to throw a pass. I mean, I think everybody in the stadium knew that they were going for it there. If that's the case, I don't know why Riley Leonard's not out there.
The sad thing about the fake punt is they had Steve Angeli out there, who I thought they probably should have brought in to try to move the ball downfield at the end of the first half. But Angeli hit Faison in the hands. And unfortunately, for one of the few times this year, Jordan Faison's hands weren't attached to his body, apparently. Bad time for it to happen. It wasn't for a team that runs those trick plays, and we saw it with the both 2-point conversions, usually runs them so cleanly. That one not so much. And like I said, the play was still there. It hit the receiver in the hands. It just fell short. So it was a night of those sort of execution mistakes for Notre Dame. You had the fumble in the first half. That basically stalled their third drive in the second quarter. Like, it was some uncharacteristic things that the Irish did, unfortunately, at a bad time.
A lot of 50-50s that ended up becoming like 85-15s.
Yeah.
Well, listen, can we give some credit to the Ohio State weapons, because they're good? I think Will Howard's gotten a bit of a bad rap too, just from the Oregon game and the way that went at the end. For those of us who saw what damage he could do in K-State, he's not I'm with you, Mike. I think good is he's above average. Definitely. Is he great? Probably. I'll take him over Carson Beck.
Sure.
That's fair.
An example. Sure. I could probably think of others, but
his final stat line in the national title game: 17 of 21 for 231 and 2 scores. I still think the key here is the explosive weapon for Ohio State. The run game ran for 214 yards combined.
Yeah,
I know. Howard had 57 of those. I'm not trying to take anything away from Will Howard,
of course,
the player. But we've talked about on this show extensively about a gentleman who got bounced from the playoffs. He's a quarterback. Will Howard runs the ball effectively like Lamar Jackson does in the NFL. But I want to preface this that Will Howard is a quarterback.
Right. That's fair. I think the biggest thing, at least, and obviously I look at this game much more from a Notre Dame perspective than I do an Ohio State perspective. The injuries to the Notre Dame, especially defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
There was questions of will it catch up to them, and on January 20th, 2025, it did. There was certainly points in that game where I would have loved to have Morrison, Benjamin Morrison, in the defensive backfield. There was definitely points in that game where I would love to have Riley Mills on the defensive end, and some of the other pass rushers and linebackers and cornerbacks that we've lost along the way. In a year where you've lost, I think it's 16 players to what turned out to be season-ending injuries. Obviously, there were some as the year and playoffs progressed that were short-term injuries, but when you only have one game left, a short-term injury is a season ender. And I think the majority of those were on the defensive side of the ball. So to the tune of 214 yards, Mike?
Yeah.
214 rushing yards. You saw a passing attack that was extremely efficient. That's one of the things where I go, man, would have been awesome to be you're never going to be at 100% at this point of the year. Would have loved to have been it at even 70% for this game, but it doesn't take credit away from Ohio State. They did what they had to do. Notre Dame came out and punched him in the mouth to start that game in a brilliant opening drive. Ohio State punched back, and then they punched again, and then they punched again. And it wasn't until the second half that Notre Dame kind of refound themselves, and they made a game of it. But
they tried to throw some pocket sand,
Sure. They did whatever they could, and it worked up until it didn't. So, yeah, it's a bummer. I thought it was a really great game. When I look at this season, it's a bummer ending. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but yeah, the game itself, Ohio State did what they needed to do. They were the better team last night, and that cannot be taken away from them whatsoever. They earned their national championship. Not that Ryan Day's job was in danger after the win against Tennessee in Columbus to start the playoffs, but they put a firm stamp on the fact that he is fine and is going nowhere. So to that, go ahead.
I mean, I will say this: I'll push back one thing on Ohio State here. 31-7, lowest point of the night. It takes a 3rd and 8 with about 2.5 minutes left that your corner gets beat really badly on basically a 50-50 ball is what it should have been. If not, Notre Dame would have gotten the football back with a shot to tie the game.
Yeah, I agree.
It really feels like the killer instinct from about the midway point of the third quarter on wasn't there. I get that the turnover gave Notre Dame the ball back, but there were parts of that game where if your run game is working as effectively as it has been all night, like you almost really feel like there's no reason why, and no offense, this game probably could have ended 49-7 if they would have
been
not
worse.
Taken their foot off the gas. Like it really feels like if there's a situation where comfortable may have to come into question, I almost think that this is a moment where you're like, no lead in any game in college football can be known as safe anymore. Because Notre Dame didn't give up. They got punched in the mouth. They got back up. They were within one stop on 3rd and 9 away from getting the football back with 2 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just think that if you're Ryan Day, be excited about this, be happy that you won the national title, be happy that you're going to have a job next year.
But Ohio State anyway.
Right. Yeah, he would have had a job somewhere.
Yeah, Toledo needs a head coach.
I say people are I mean, granted it's West Virginia, but people are still hiring Rich Rodriguez. So
that's true.
Ryan Day would have had a job somewhere.
That's true. I'm just saying it's for as great of a game as Ohio State played, and it was a great job by the staff to get them ready and the players to make plays. The fourth quarter really just felt like we've already won. Who cares?
Isn't hubris something we've talked about from Ryan Day on the show, just like it is, though, about Freeman's ability to rile up his dudes? This is what we saw. That's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of felt going into halftime like Ohio State had that, we have already won this game vibe to them. They came out and scored some a couple more points, 10 more points out of the half, but they kind of had that vibe and swagger as well. I think if Notre Dame could have gotten a stop to start the second half, I think the story may go a little bit differently, but unfortunately we won't know that. So to kind of begin to put the bow on this in the college football season, and I forgot to print out the document. I could try to pull it up as well in terms of what we got right and what we got wrong to go into the season.
Oh God, it's going to be embarrassing.
I have it.
It's going to be brutal. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but Mike, I'll start with you, then I'll go to Kyle. What does this win mean for Ohio State and Ryan Day?
Well, for Ryan Day, I think you put him on. I'm not going to say a pedestal because that's the wrong word. it puts him on a spot where if he can just find a way to beat Michigan the next year or two, he could arguably be one of the better Ohio State coaches potentially of all time, especially if he can try to run this back and get to another Final Four potential national title game appearance.
Okay.
But for the program, I think this is a thing where it's great, but then you have to remember, did this team not spend like the second or third most in NIL this year? I thought I saw a stat
I think
that
it
said
was
they
the
spent
most. I think it was over 20 million.
So I'm going to use this analogy, and it's fair because of what's going on right now in Major League Baseball. Sorry, Kyle, baseball talk on a football show. I'll make it quick.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
When you can defer $1.9 billion, you better win the World Series.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend the most, you better win the national title.
Yeah. I made this point on the Earnestly Speaking pod for the Student of the Game report. Listen, the Yankees maximize the salary numbers basically every year in Major League Football, and they ain't won a World Series since 2009. Take that for your baseball talk, motherfucker. So
I said the guys that I play with every Sunday, we had a conversation last night after Tanner Scott signed with the Dodgers. That's another $47 million in deferred money. The fact that they have more money being deferred than teams will spend in the next 5 years is astronomical. So it's like, if they're going to spend the money,
did Houston get involved? Oh, sorry, you meant astronomical, not the Astro. Sorry,
not astronomical.
My bad. Because then I would ask about cheating and everything, and
trash cans.
Astronomical, I like that.
Trash cans. So I think if you're going to spend it, the goal has to be to at least get to where you were at last night and being in the national title game. Mission successful. Put a check mark next to it and, see how many of these guys are leaving. See how many of these guys are going to go to the NFL. You already saw that their backup quarterback transferred to Cal earlier today. That was announced. Yep. We'll see the pieces that Ryan Day can get to stay. We can get the pieces that Ryan Day can get to come in through the transfer portal, through high school seniors that are coming in. Step in the right direction, but now the next step for Ryan Day as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes is now you have all the pressure in the world because you are the defending national champions. Go defend it.
There you go. Student of the game?
No, I can't put it any better, a lot of that than this, except for maybe two things for Ryan Day himself. You think I was joking earlier about the Dallas Cowboys coaching vacancy, and I was specifically about that one. We all know that they're going to hire Deion Sanders. No, we don't. But
we got scared. Well, the collective we of some people got a little scared there for a minute, but that seems to have been smoke and mirrors.
It always was. No, but listen, for me, man, I really think, and call me nutty if you want, we'll never know because he actually pulled the goddamn thing off. I thought that Ryan Day was in trouble unless he pulled down a natty trophy, which he did. I really think there would have been something going on with Ohio State. And if I'm Ryan Day, call him a pointy-haired, you know what, however many times you wish to do so, he would be just as justified to go, well, you care. And I don't know that Kyle's their athletic director, but it seemed appropriate, and walk for all the bullshit he gets from this fan base. I found a way to make, and preemptively, I found a way to make Ryan Day sympathetic on your show. Of course you played that bite. But for me, I think the Nat championship keeps Ryan Day there, whether that's a pro or con, depending on your point of view. Those are the facts of the case. They are not in dispute. Also, to the point for all the money that Byrne made about the cash being thrown down. And we'll get into talks about cash in just a little bit, I'm sure, talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But because they won the Natty, all that money spent isn't just being spent now, though. It's an investment for players wanting to come to that university to play football first, especially since they're retaining Ryan Day at this point in time. By the way, side note, Jim, since your wife, being a lady, is a Fighting Irish fan, does that make her a Notre Dame?
Fair. I will start this by saying that the because there was media like reports and confirmations by his family that about how the family was treated in the aftermath of the Michigan loss, and I am no Ryan Day fan. For those that
Oh no, I'm so surprised.
You?
for those who have tuned into this program, but what
Your
he
Twitter
and
feed.
what he and his family and his kid have endured post that loss by the Ohio State fan base that is now cheering him is absolutely pathetic and uncalled for. So I will certainly get that out of the way. Not that it needed to be said, but I will say it nonetheless. I think for Ohio State, this is this is cementing something that in today's college football world you can do. When you spend $20+ million, somewhere between 20 and 30 per the reports, this is what it should get you, right? Like if this is what a NIL collective and the best college football talent that money can buy, if that's the world that we currently live in, and the the wild
the SEC, Jim.
Well, not anymore, the Wild West of college football, that Nick Saban is vehemently trying to get under control as he goes on rants on College Game Day. The world as it is now, this is what you want. This is what it can do for you, and they did exactly what their collective and their coaching staff and everybody bought in for, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
And something that kind of gets lost in all of this is the talk about Ryan Day and the talk about the weapons is a guy that they brought in who went from the next big thing in college coaching to the guy who's going to change the NFL world to, is this guy even really a coach anymore? Chip Kelly, the Chip Kelly redemption tour swung through Columbus and landed, and I'm sure he's going to get a head coaching job again somewhere. But the job he did, kind of reinventing the Ohio State offense, shouldn't go without being mentioned either. But they earned every bit of a national championship that they won. So on the other side, what does this loss mean for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman? And Kyle, I'll start with you this time.
Ka-ching, motherfucker. That's all it means. That is all the fuck it means. And listen, Jim, I know, Kyle's anti-Notre Dame. Bullshit. Okay, I have said on this very show.
$1 million man.
Wait, do that one again?
Everyone has a price for the $1 million man.
God bless it. But I don't know what better compliment to give Jim. I just went with the bell. Yeah, no, everybody's got a price. But here's the thing. Notre Dame doesn't have to divide theirs among the conference. And listen, I've said it on the show and I will maintain it. I think it's better for college football if Notre Dame's in the conference. I don't mean the shit's better for Notre Dame, okay? And as much as you and Matt have fought me in that as if I disagree with it, I just did this on the Mark Moses show today on 1560 The Fan in Melbourne. Like, do you have Charlie Sheen in the sound bites?
Winning.
No.
Greed is good.
Oh, even better. So with all that in mind, close enough. Bud Fox for the win. I know that's Gordon Gekko, but if you seen watch the goddamn movie and learn who Bud Fox is. Anyways, the fact that they can draw in all the cash that they have and they still have a coach as badass and goddamn beautiful. I said it. It's a handsome human being.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Facts is facts.
I mean, granted, the biggest hater of his quarterback is the quarterback's mother. We saw that out there on the social medias with the constant messaging of you suck. I get it.
Stay humble.
Hey, listen, it took my mom 8 years to like my Facebook page as a student of the game. I get it. But listen, if you expect me to be any bit sympathetic for Notre Dame. And keep in mind, I still haven't even used the phrase G5 yet on your motherfucking schedule. Okay. I'm
You
not.
did earlier, but we'll ignore it.
No, I mean in this particular.
In this
diatribe.
Yeah. Diatribe. Excellent job. Well done, Mikey Byrne. So, with all that being said, no, don't cry for Argentina. Because here's the thing, they got enough goddamn money in all these games that they could take that money and turn around and spend about as much as Ohio State just did that we're griping about. So, no, stop. The future is bright as that gold helmet, motherfucker.
Good way to put it. Mikey B, what does this loss mean for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman?
Hunger. Because now you've been there. Now you know what it feels like to get on that plane, to get back into your home base and have to,
private jet.
hug your seniors, tell them thank you for everything that you did. Thank you for putting your body on the line and all of that. And now you got a reason to go out there and find the pieces that you feel like you didn't have in that game. A true number one wide receiver. Whomever is going to play quarterback next year, I believe Riley Leonard's a senior, correct?
He is. Yeah, Leonard's done. Probably CJ Carr is going to be the leader in the clubhouse.
Hopefully their mom doesn't tell them they suck. That
too.
Yeah.
So I feel like, especially from Marcus Freeman's perspective, and that's where I go with my thought process is he's going to sit here now and he's going to know this feeling and he's not going to want to feel it again. So he's going to do exactly what Kyle said. Cha-ching, motherfucker. He's going to go find the pieces to improve this defense. He's going to go find receivers, because as much as I gave Penn State shit about losing a football game to Notre Dame, having receivers catch approximately 0 passes,
rightly so.
I think Notre Dame's probably got to go get a couple of playmakers on the wide receiver front to get themselves, I'm not going to say over a hump because they're already over the hump, but to make themselves more explosive.
Balanced, yeah.
The run game is always good at Notre Dame. It's always going to be good because of the scheming that the offensive coordinator and that Marcus Freeman use. Great offensive line play.
A tradition of recruiting awesome offensive line, Mike.
Correct.
You got to give that credit.
Absolutely. So they're going to find the pieces, and I use this is the motivation. If I don't know what your guys' schedule is for next year, I could probably bring it up real quick.
It's manageable. It's certainly manageable.
I'm going to say, if I am a coach, and depending on what Marcus Freeman does in the transfer portal and in NIL deals, I don't know that I want to play Notre Dame next year. At least not the first couple weeks, because those guys might be coming out really pissed off, the guys that are still there.
That's an interesting point.
And Marcus Freeman literally might be pissed off that game ended the way that it did. And while he is a handsome son of a bitch, I don't want that guy trying to scheme up
motherfucker too.
Pass.
I mean, that's Smolder.
Yes. Notre Dame players talked about it in the aftermath of the Orange Bowl. Like, the James Franklin antics in the presser did not land well with Marcus Freeman, and you saw how that worked out. Ryan Day, smart enough to not do the same thing in the coach's presser this week. But the schedule, they start at the U.
Carson Beck dead.
hate to be you, Carson Beck. The Texas A&M, Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, USC, Navy, Pitt, and Kyle's favorite, Boston College, NC State, and Syracuse as well. So
I think I respect G5 school more than BC. That's a great point by you, Jim.
Certainly manageable.
I'm looking at it from the perspective. Carson Beck first started at Miami. That kid's dead.
But you say that. But even with all that in mind, you and I both know, Byrne, that mofo is going to be preseason ranked, and that's going to be so huge to help Notre Dame.
They're 23, Texas A&M's 22, Boise State's 24, and Boise State's losing the best player they've probably had play at their school, I don't know, ever.
Yeah.
And if it, not to ask for the media to be consistent, because they never are, sir, but I feel like there's a real chance that Boise State gets dropped out of the 25 because he's retiring. We've seen it happen plenty of times, right? The most prominent thing that I can give you as an example, because I covered it at the time, it wasn't for the black and gold banneret, but it would be eventually. And that's when Mackenzie Milton got hurt
Mhm.
in 18, and then they also or no, it wasn't even that they got hurt. They just changed coaches the first year. That's right. In 2018, they just changed to Josh Heupel, and that was enough to keep them from making any sort of preseason ranking.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean the problem. Well, there's lots of problems in preseason rankings.
One
I won't get on that
exists.
soapbox. But like you're going to see teams that were finished the season ranked this year that are maybe returning a large number of their roster that are going to either be dropped well below where they were, dropped out completely. There's going to be teams that went finished 8-5 this year that just because they're a name are going to be 10th because they won a bowl game against backups and no head coach. It's the silliness that is preseason rankings that unfortunately we'll never get away from. I mean, I saw numerous accounts doing early preseason rankings before last night's game was even over.
Oh, come on.
It's like, what are we doing here? But that's another argument for another day.
I'm looking at the final AP poll right now, and it's like Arizona State's not going to be in the top 10. Boise State's obviously not going to be in the top 10. The fact that Colorado is losing Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders, they probably shouldn't be in the preseason top 25.
They probably won't be.
Maybe
especially
next
if Deion does take a job in the NFL too. So
Raiders,
somebody write this down to remind me of this come August, because I would love to compare. I actually want to compare. We've never done it before. I would love to compare the final AP poll of this year, the one that came out today, to what will be the preseason poll when we end up doing our our preseason college football predictions come August, because the difference between the two will be insane.
All right, I wrote it in my notes.
Cool, thank you, I appreciate that.
That's actually going to be a fun episode. I like that.
So to close this, and then we'll take a quick gander at things, the many things we got wrong in our preseason predictions.
What a mess.
But
so many drinks, so much alcohol, Jim.
So much.
So goddamn true.
For Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, yeah, I think Mike hit a great point, because and to go full hardball house homer, as is 2 years ago when Michigan lost to TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. There was a number of players who intentionally stayed out on the field to watch the TCU celebration, because they didn't want to forget what that felt like. Obviously, we know what happened last year. Those players returned. Michigan went 15-0, en route to a college football playoff national championship. There was a number of Notre Dame players who will be back on this team, to the tune of like 18 starters, barring transfers, that stayed on the field last night with the red and white confetti raining down to watch that moment. After Molly McGrath interviewed Marcus Freeman in the post game stuff outside the Notre Dame locker room, when the interview ended, and there's been a couple of great shots, candid shots of this. There's media around a screen in the hallway where the Ohio State Buckeyes are on the stage getting their trophy. Marcus Freeman, very businesslike, watching, observing, taking that moment in. This was a third year of Marcus Freeman as a head coach. We've talked about up until this point, he had 8 losses, 4 of which were ranked teams, 4 of which were unranked teams. Some of them obviously baffling. A loss to a Marshall team, a loss to a 3-9 Stanford team, a loss to an NIU team this year, week 2 of this year. If you would have went back week 2, you want to talk about another show that I didn't want to do? It was week fucking 2 of this season.
A fucking 2
because
and rightly so.
Right. Like, what just happened? How do you beat the number, the 10 team or whatever they were at the time in front of 103,000 people, and then come home and lose to NIU? And then they had an opportunity to roll over and die.
Yes. Marcus
Freeman and that team wouldn't do it. They won every game since then until last night. And at one point they were down 31-7. Trust me, I've seen Notre Dame in these games at 31-7. They end even worse. Okay. Like I have seen it. I have lived it. Thought I was living again last night. And then once again this year, they refused to roll over and die.
That is no BS. See
So
see how I did it in Spanish to make it funny? Yeah.
See?
So what this loss means to me as a Notre Dame fan is that, yeah, I'm bummed out. This in some ways, last night's loss felt worse than 2012 against Alabama, than the 2 trips to the college football playoff before when you got ran off the field. But in other ways, I am more optimistic for next year, the year after, because I see what this guy, this leader of the Notre Dame football program is building. And every opportunity he's had along the way to learn, he has taken it and made his team better, including after week 2. He took a phone call from a G5 coach that just beat him in his house,
Thomas Hammock,
and made his team better because of it. So, yeah, I'm bummed today, but I'm excited as hell for 2025. So that's what this loss means to me.
hit the clap for yourself, please.
And rightly so.
So now, before we put our final bow on the college football season, we'll just take a quick glance. Kyle, go ahead.
I just gotta say, I'm not asking for you to put in "ka-ching, motherfucker" into the soundbite, but if you do, of course I will. I will have to just be very celebratory in very inappropriate ways. But the reason why I mentioned "ka-ching, motherfucker" is because our good friend Mikey the Burn Bernier did not have a chance to say "quack quack, motherfucker" like he thought he would this time a month ago.
It's true. It is true. So speaking of that, looking back, obviously we know
goddamn rude.
It's also goddamn true.
So goddamn rude.
Let's see. Dave, Matt, and Mikey had the Big Ten champion of Oregon correct. Nobody had the ACC champion being Clemson this year.
Of course they did.
Across the board, except for Mike, who had Texas, Dave, who had Alabama, had Georgia as your SEC champion. Again, nobody had Arizona State as your Big 12 champion. Matt had Oklahoma State. The rest of us had Utah.
Okay, listen. I stand by the moon falling on that one.
Yes, it was.
Did you say Utes?
We were all in that spot. We all got it. Injuries again.
I blame you.
That was a major problem.
I blame you.
For the Utes this year.
Did you say Utes?
Heisman Trophy winner. Nobody had the guts.
I blame you.
To pull the trigger on, of course, Travis Hunter from Colorado. In terms of the bye week predictions, let's see. We had I had Georgia on mine. Dave had Oregon on his.
Matt.
I lied. Dave did have Clemson. I looked right over that. Dave had Clemson, so he had them on the bye. Everybody else had those who picked it had Georgia. So we got there. Just looking down over the national championship predictions.
Stupid, I know that.
Mike had Oregon, Texas. EJ had Georgia, Ohio State, so he got 1. Student of the game, you had Georgia, Ohio State, so you had 1.
Oh shit.
Matt had Georgia and Ohio State. He had 1. Dave had Oregon, Alabama. He was bought into that Bama squad. I had Georgia, Texas. Ooh. Of course, we saw what the champion was. Nobody had the guts to pick.
Wait, you had the all SEC national title game?
I did.
Hard as season talking about how bad of a conference it was.
Well, you know.
So
now I know better.
By the way, injuries whooped my entire ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that got impacted by Carson Beck's injury, for one.
Yeah.
You know. Then the Cam Moon rising, or not rising, rather, hurt me twice.
Yep.
Because that was my Heisman vote.
Yeah. Yep. Sure was.
Holy shit. What? I'm just curious. What did I pick for the ACC?
You had Florida. Florida State. You and
You
EJ.
and Ernest both took Florida.
Yeah,
State.
I didn't know.
Hold on. You both took Florida State. I took NC State because of Grayson McCall playing quarterback for
and Matt and I picked the U. Which really, let's be fair, the U
that was in play.
Been the U.
That was in play.
You got screwed.
Been them, but of course,
I agree. All you gotta do is beat the goddamn. All you gotta do is beat the goddamn Orange Men.
Do you have the locks of the year on there? Because I wrote those down.
I don't. Yeah, give me. Let's hear those.
Oh boy! All right, I'll start with my own because it's so goddamn bad.
So
Colorado will finish under 500.
Listen. That's I think Jim's mad that didn't happen. Is what I'm saying.
Allegedly.
Yeah, right.
Jim's lock of the year: every Power 4 champion will lose a game.
Damn. Well,
quack, motherfucker. Nope, they didn't lose a game in the regular season.
Oh, that was a regular season prediction.
Son of a bitch.
Get wrecked.
I was close. I was going to say, technically, Oregon did lose a game.
What happened was
Matt's prediction: top 25 head coach will be fired.
That hasn't happened yet, has it?
I'd have to go back and look at the preseason top 25.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I won't hit the on him because he may be correct on that.
Do you mean obviously mean a top 25 preseason ranked? Oh,
yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that
I'm
might
not
be in
sure.
play. I won't hit the on that one.
When I'm done looking, I'll look and see who the top 25 were at the
we'll have to do a journalism on that.
Student of the game, Kyle Nash. Yours was Billy Napier will be fired after the loss to UCF.
Okay, he should have been. God damn it! I'm not wrong.
Well, I mean, you are wrong.
Statistically wrong. Reality not wrong.
Textually wrong. In reality, probably should have, but
yeah.
Kudos to them for giving a chance to breathe out because that team did get better.
Yeah, something.
And Van Man, as my wife so elegantly calls him, Ohio State's only loss will be in the national title game.
Wah wah.
You blew it.
I wish you would have been right about one thing.
Homer.
I mean, that wouldn't have been their only loss, but certainly would have wished at least part of that would have played out. But
so the preseason top 25: Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Florida State. Did they move on from their head coach?
No. They actually added Gus Malzahn as their offensive coordinator.
Missouri.
Nope.
Utes.
No.
LSU, Clemson, Tennessee. No. Oklahoma.
Not yet.
No, I don't believe so.
OK State.
No.
No.
Though they talked a lot. They're talking a lot about Gundy, but no, not yet.
Not yet.
Kansas State.
No.
No.
The U.
Nope.
A&M, Texas.
Nope.
No.
Arizona.
Oh.
No. They didn't because they changed him out before the season started.
Okay.
They haven't done it yet. It's a first-year guy.
Kansas.
No.
No.
I can see the talk.
The University of Southern California.
No.
Not yet.
NC State.
Don't believe so.
Iowa.
No, that one.
Not Iowa.
No, they did not fire Kirk Ferentz.
All right, sorry, Matt. You get the uh-ohs.
Worst material ever. The uh-ohs.
All right, so that we closed the book on the 2024-2025 college football season, a memorable one in many ways, the good, the bad, and the ugly on that. You know what? We haven't heard that in a while, so I'll hit it as I close the book on the good, the bad, and the ugly of the college football season as we bid farewell to it. It is one that I will certainly never forget, and hopefully we started something special for my team.